Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. We're diving into some pretty cool AI today, specifically how it's tackling real-world problems in software development. You know those annoying GitHub issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see how AI might just change the game when it comes to fixing those.
So we'll be looking at this new open source AI model called SWE-Fixer. And what's really cool about it is that it could give, developers everywhere access to powerful AI tools.
Okay, so like everyone knows, developers spend a ton of time on bug fixes. You've got these GitHub issues, some are clear, some, well, not so much. And then you're digging through all this code just trying to find the problem. Seems like AI could really help here, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are AI solutions out there, but a lot of them are based on these proprietary models, and they can be expensive and hard for, most developers to get access to. That's what makes this SWE-Fixer research so interesting. It's taking this, really powerful technology and making it open and available to pretty much everyone.
It's pretty wild to imagine any developer anywhere being able to help improve AI that can fix code, right? That's the whole point of open source. But before we get too far ahead, what exactly is SWE-Fixer? How does it even approach this whole fixing code from GitHub issues thing?
Well, SWE-Fixer uses this two-module system. So the first module is all about finding the problem. Like imagine a super smart search engine that goes through tons of code to find the exact files that need to be fixed based on the issue report. That's essentially what this module does, and it does it crazy fast.
So it's like an AI detective that can zero in on the problem files right away. Okay, so what happens next?
Right, so that's where the second module comes in. This is where the large language model, or LLM, steps in. It's basically a powerful AI that's been trained on a massive amount of code, and it takes over from there. So it analyzes those files, those suspect files, and actually writes the code to fix the issue.
I've heard of LLMs before, but I'm still not totally clear on what they are. Could you break it down for me? I bet some of our listeners are wondering the same thing.
Sure. So an LLM is a type of AI that's really good at understanding and creating, well, human-like text. In this case, the LLM that powers SWE-Fixer is trained on, like I said, tons and tons of code. This lets it basically read and write code super accurately. Think of it this way. If you showed a human developer thousands of code examples on how to fix bugs, they'd eventually pick up on the patterns, right? And then they could apply that to new situations. That's kind of what the LLM does, but it does it way faster and on a much bigger scale.
That makes a lot more sense. So the 72B parameter LLM, that's the AI brain doing all the work in SWE-Fixer, and this is where the whole open source thing comes in, right?
Exactly. And this open source approach is really important for a few reasons. First, it lets researchers and developers fully understand how the model works. No secrets here. Second, it encourages collaboration. Anyone can help make the model better, more accurate. And finally, it makes this powerful technology accessible to everyone, not just, big companies with lots of resources.
It seems like the people behind SWE-Fixer really wanted to make this technology transparent. But even the best AI needs to learn, right? What kind of data did they use to train this thing?
Well, they used a massive data set, over 110,000 real GitHub issues and their code patches. And they were really careful about data quality, too, making sure the model learned from the best possible examples.
So it's not just quantity, it's quality. Makes sense. But they did something else too, right? Something about chain of thought data.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. They created extra training data called chain of thought, or Kotofe-T. This basically teaches the LLM how to think through problems step by step, kind of like a human developer. It breaks down the problem solving, making the model's decisions easier to understand.
So it's not just about giving a solution, it's about explaining its reasoning. That's pretty cool. I bet that helps developers trust the AI's suggestions more. But does it actually work?
Let's get to the results. When they tested it against standard benchmarks, SWE-Fixer did amazing, like state-of-the-art performance for open source models. It even beat some methods that use proprietary models like GPT-4 and Claude.
Wow, that's a big deal. Really shows how open source AI can not just keep up with, but maybe even beat the big closed source models.
The paper also talks about this case study where SWE-Fixer came up with a fix that wasn't what everyone expected. It actually found a different file to fix than what was considered, the standard solution. But get this, it still fixed the issue perfectly.
That's fascinating. Makes you think, are we being too strict with how we evaluate AI? Maybe there are multiple right answers, and AI might be able to see solutions that humans miss. What are your thoughts?
I think it definitely makes us rethink how we look at AI problem solving. It's not always about finding the one right answer. Sometimes there are multiple ways to fix something, and AI might see solutions that we don't.
This whole idea of AI finding alternative solutions is super interesting. Makes me wonder, could AI like this actually change how we code entirely? Could we get to a point where developers give high-level instructions and the AI handles all the details? What do you think?
That's a great question, and one we should definitely explore more. It opens up so many possibilities, but also some challenges. But before we get into all that, let's look closer at what SWE Fixer's approach means for, the average developer struggling with bugs.
Sounds like a perfect place to pick up in the next part of our deep dive. So, when we were talking about those alternative solutions that SW-Fixer found, it really got me thinking about how AI could actually change how we develop software altogether. What if instead of just fixing bugs, AI actually helped us design the software in the first place?
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. Like, imagine if AI could suggest improvements or even like completely new ways to design things that a human developer might never think of.
Hmm.
It could lead to a whole new level of, well, just innovation in how we make software.
I'm trying to picture how that would work in real life. Would developers basically become like architects? They design the plans and the AI would handle the actual building.
I think that's a really good way to think about it. It could be a shift from focusing on all the tiny details of coding to thinking more big picture about the design and what the software actually does.
But wouldn't AI need to understand more than just code to do that? Like, wouldn't it need to understand what the software is supposed to do, that human element?
You're right, that's a really important point. We're talking about AI going beyond just understanding the syntax and algorithms. It would need to actually get the why behind the code.
So, like, almost an AI that can read between the lines and understand the goals of the project.
Exactly. And it's definitely a challenge, but all the research happening in areas like natural language processing is helping us get there. AI models are getting better and better at understanding human language, even in really technical fields like software development.
So, like, if we could get AI to understand what we want, could we just give it instructions like, make this app run faster or make this module more secure, and then just let the AI figure out how to do it?
That's the potential here. It could totally change what it means to be a software developer.
Hmm.
No more boring, tedious tasks and more time for solving hard problems and coming up with creative solutions.
It sounds pretty amazing, but I can also see some developers being a little hesitant about this, like maybe worrying about losing control or even being replaced by AI. What do you say to those concerns?
I think it's totally understandable to feel that way. Anytime there's a big change, there's going to be some anxiety. But, history shows us that the people who embrace change and figure out how to work with new technologies are usually the ones who do well.
So it's not about AI versus humans, it's more about how we can both work together and use each other's strengths.
Right. And I think this whole open source aspect of SW-Fixer is a big part of making that collaboration happen because it's transparent and accessible. Developers can explore it, really understand it, and help make it better.
It seems like open source is a really important part of this whole AI and software development thing.
It's about giving everyone access to these powerful tools and encouraging, well, a community where everyone can contribute. It makes sure that the benefits of AI are shared and not just controlled by a few big companies.
And like we saw with SW-Fixer's results, open source models can be just as good as or even better than the big proprietary ones. So, like, what does this mean for the future of software development? Are we about to see a huge change?
I think we're at a really exciting point. AI could completely change how we think about coding, how we build software, even what it means to be a developer. But we can't forget about the human side of things. Creativity, problem-solving, ethics, those are always going to be important.
It sounds like we need to find a balance between using the power of AI and holding on to the things that have always made software development innovative. But where do we go from here? How do we prepare for a future where AI is more of a partner than just a tool? We've been talking about how AI could change software development, becoming more of a partner and less of a tool. I'm really interested in how we can get ready for that.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think a lot of it comes down to education. If AI starts doing more of the basic coding, what skills will developers need to be successful?
I guess the focus might shift to more high-level stuff, like problem-solving, system design, understanding what users need, maybe even AI ethics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We might see developers becoming more specialized. Some might focus on working with AI, like learning how to guide and manage these systems,
Hmm.
and others might specialize in areas where humans are still better, like designing user experiences or coming up with totally new kinds of software.
So it's like AI could create a bunch of new specialized roles in software development. But what about the developers we have now? The ones who are really good at traditional coding? How they adapt?
Well, they'll need to keep learning and updating their skills. to stay ahead of the game. And the good thing is that open source AI can help with that idea. Platforms like GitHub can be places where people share knowledge, work together on new tools, and help developers learn these new skills.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about having a community that helps people learn and adapt.
Exactly. And that's one of the most exciting things about this whole thing. It's not just about AI taking over. It's about humans and AI working together to create something amazing.
This deep dive into AI and software development has been incredible. As we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought. We've talked a lot about the technical side of AI, but what about the human side?
I think that's the most important question. As we move forward, we have to remember the things that make us human, the things that drive innovation, like empathy, creativity, and wanting to make the world better. Those are the things that will help us use AI for good.
Very well said. It's been great exploring this topic with you. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.